He told me one day, "Mom, I can't take this medication anymore because it makes me weird." And I'm a loser. And I just looked at him and I said, no, wait, listen. You are not a loser. You are one of the bravest people that I know. You are my hero. You have suffered and struggled for years and years. All of these beautiful children have. They have been through so much. They have been misunderstood. They have been criticized. They have been hurt and injured. And somehow they think they're the losers. And they're actually the people who are showing us the lessons in life that we need to learn. My son is a hero.
I don't know how to explain what it's like to have a gun in your mouth. You know, it tastes terrible. I mean, it just burns. The spent gunpowder, the oils that are in guns are.
And the change that I've seen just in the last 4 weeks, there's a person there that I used to talk to that I haven't seen in years. He's got a light in his eyes. He's happy. He's also surrounded by people who know. They get it, they understand. And he's feeling a level of friendship and compassion that he's had to live without for about 7 years. Finding this place was a miracle for us.
In retrospect, she was different from the day she was born. She was different when I was pregnant. My pregnancy was very different with her than the other 2 children I have. And she was, when I think back on it, I saw signs of it already when she was very young, but I did not understand the signs. We had separation issues when she was going to preschool. I took her to preschool and she would scream. I stayed in preschool for months until she would finally stay there. The pediatrician didn't tell me anything, and if anything, I was always told I was a bad parent. And I was a bad, and her father, my ex-husband, told me I was a bad parent, and family members, I was always being told what I was doing wrong with her and being a bad parent. We were the people to help. It's very easy to criticize, but there was never any help, hope, support. Well, CooperRiis came to be after having doors slammed in my face for about 15 years with my daughter. It was always what you can't do, and I was wrong, I caused it, and it was always this negative thing, and it was always about the insurance, and my daughter would always get better the day before her insurance would run out. And I said, let's create a place where people can truly recover, where it's based on the can-do and not the cannot. And it will be a place that if we needed to go there, we would feel comfortable.
And it takes courage for people who have been beat up so badly by society for so many years to relax and get to a place where they can begin to look positively again at themselves and resurrect the part of them that they are. They're not defined by their illness, they're defined by who they are, and they may happen to have an illness, but it doesn't define who they are. And helping people change that perspective and tap into their own energy and resources is what we're trying to do and what we do, and it's amazing the impact it can have on people's lives.
What happens here, day one, is that the person coming as a resident has a way to give back to others. They're on the life skills program. They're helping to raise the food in the gardens. They're helping to prepare it in the kitchen. They're helping to make things in the art bar and the wood shop, helping to take care of the environment. They're not just someone with mental illness. Even at the end of the first day, they're sitting around the dining table and they have an emerging identity. Well, who are you? Well, I'm not Joe with schizophrenia. I'm Joe the gardener. I'm Joe the woodworker. It's imperative that they begin experiencing themselves as a responsible citizen again of the community of which they're a part.
I was impressed by the fact that everyone had a role there, including, for example, one young man who would look at the anemometer and the other weather instruments and give a weather report every day. That was his function. Everyone has a function there, and you can't say, I'm too regressed to look at the weather or milk a cow or look after the chickens, because if you do that, the whole community suffers. And so the sense of responsibility and duty, in a good sense, was there. I had a sort of breakdown of some sort when I was about 22 or so, and I was sent to a kibbutz in Israel, a collective farm, and I found that very, very pleasant and important. I really become rather isolated and withdrawn, and there again I had to be on the tractor at 4 in the morning. I had to do my job. I had to play a part, sort of, looking after children and doing everything. It was very important.
Because so many of the people who end up on our doorstep have been just completely marginalized and disconnected and isolated. And health conditions do that. People turn inward, particularly when they're not getting help, and it's tremendously isolating. And so the power of people feeling accepted and a part of something and connected and having shared purpose and meaning, is huge. We try to facilitate a sense of home in each one of the lodges. People own that, and they feel connected to that little ecosystem. People say, oh, I'm in Poplar, and after a while they get really proud. Poplar's the best lodge, and they have lodge outings, so there's this cohesion around everyone in the home belongs to this lodge and this home. We set up mentoring relationships, between residents that have been here for a while and residents who just arrived. We have, targeted therapy groups where people with similar issues support each other, and learn together and share each other's lived experience. So there's connectedness going on in that way. People are drumming together. They're down in the art barn and they're doing a drumming, and everyone's trying to get, the same rhythm or create something together as a group. So there's a lot of different ways when you look at that domain that we're really thoughtful, we're really intentional about creating that sense of connectedness. And we've learned from our residents, they say, what, more than anything, that's what's most powerful about what you do.
First of all, if you look at our recovery planning process, it starts with the question, what is your dream? Not, what is your diagnosis?
We're not a pathology-oriented program where we talk all day long about illnesses and symptoms and over-identify people with their diagnosis.
Of course, we need to understand the diagnosis, need to work on that, need to work on the accompanying despair, but that's not where you start. You start with a dream, which is about affirmation, which is about a growing strength growing ability to relate with the world.
We're a place that starts with listening carefully to what people want for themselves and saying, you know what, that's possible.
I mean, mental illness just rips you out of society, rips you out of relationships, rips you out of, the dreams that you may have been pursuing. And too often you can get into the kind of treatment that becomes like a dead end and says, no, you can't go any further. Be realistic. But you can be realistic and still kindle dreams.
We know you're struggling. We know these are dark days. We know that. But we can help you, and you can't do it alone. And you can join this really warm, accepting community. And you can slowly find your way back to yourself with help.
If you ask people for their dreams, then you're approaching them as an individual, and also you're looking for something very, very positive, something other than despair or depression. Perhaps someone has a dream of playing a flute. Rather simple thing, but that's a dream they might realize at CooperRiis.
Many of the residents that come to us, they just feel like, well, I got this mental illness now, my life is over. But it's not.
That is so true. We've had people come. I remember one young woman that came that could not write a sentence. She had totally turned off that skill set, and she couldn't put words together. And when she left, she was editor of our CooperRiis newspaper.
We really, really try and find people's dreams and help them reach those dreams.
Why don't they teach that in elementary school?
Well, we could all benefit from that, couldn't we? Whether it's someone with mental illness or not, so often I think that we don't look as deeply as we should for our own dream or our own mission in life. Well, when people come into CooperRiis, it's like, oh, okay, this is serious, and it is. But life also has humor, and it needs humor. So Curly makes that statement as you come in. This is a place where, yes, recovery happens, but we also live life, laugh about life, and try and bring in the humor as we can. I mean, when they come to CooperRiis, they should recognize that, wow, this feels like a special place. It's not the typical kind of place you come to if you're mentally ill.
I don't know if any of you have gone into the clinics, and they're very, very depressive places. You sit in the chairs, and everybody looks like they're from another planet, actually. And the first thing that Eric said within 2 minutes of closing the door of the car, he just kind of looked around, and as I'm doing now, which is such a beautiful, peaceful scene that CooperRiis provides, and he said, so this is where a heart can heal. And it took me back to where he had said the month before that he had the hole in his heart.
No, I think right now we have about 11 children on the property. A lot of the staff live here, and some of them are families with their kids. But the children in the community really help normalize it. It's a place where you know that normal behavior is what's expected.
I liked the atmosphere of the farm very much. I had difficulty telling the residents from the staff, and especially in the communal dining rooms, I didn't know who was whom, which is a very good thing and very, very different from, say, what Goffman describes in asylums, where there's a sense of an absolute distance between staff and inmates.
As you're looking to your left from the main house, you see the 3 lodges. The lodges are where residents and staff live, generally 12 residents, 6 staff. We have some apartments in those buildings where staff with families also reside. Altogether, I think we're up to 60, 70 people living on site, residents and staff and their families. If you look at staff overall to residents, it's better than 1-to-1. So there's a lot of support, both from staff living here as well as from staff who don't live here. And together it's a fairly large group.
I see also there's a lot of just ad hoc animals.
Ad hoc. Yeah, this one is this one is called Ladybug. Someone actually also named her Lazybug. She likes to recline and rest.
Because I think looking after the animals and the responsibility for doing so and the affective bonds which arise between your animals and yourself were very important. Sometimes, for whatever reasons, it's difficult to form a relation with a human being. But you can form a relation with a plant or with an animal and go from there.
I love for residents to come down here and feed the ducks because when you feed them out of your hand, they come running up and they seem aggressive at first and they start pecking it out of your hand real quick and it kind of pinches a little bit, but they really don't do any harm. They don't hurt you at all.
We don't eat our animals. We raise them and we name them. They're almost like parts of the family. But so we have animals here. We have animals down at the barn, sheep and some llamas that'll give you a kiss, and some goats, and a lot of chickens for eggs. So animals are part of the environment. As you see how the buildings go in and out, design feature early on was to try and bring in as much sun as possible into each room. So everyone has a corner bedroom. Each room has a lot of light. So there's 12 singles in each of these lodges, along with 6 staff who have their own quarters. Everyone has a spacious private room with a private bath. The first lodge has a pool table and dartboard. The middle lodge has a library, sort of a reading area. And the last lodge has an exercise area. And then if you look over here toward our lake, it's a little bit difficult to see here, but we have a wonderful little lake down here for swimming in, walking around through the woods. We have little boats down there for using. You can also go down there and do some fishing. It's just a very tranquil place. And then next to the lake, we have the art barn, we call it. The upper level is an art space with almost every media that you can imagine. We have a lot of residents and staff who are very creative in the arts. So we'll do artistic things there like drawing, pottery. We'll do plays there. We had a talent show there the other night. The lower level of that building is called the wood shop. It's got all of the equipment that you expect to find in a really first-class wood shop. We got the safest equipment that we could as well. And it's one of the parts of the life skills program where residents are doing things like making some of the Native American flutes that we play, or making some of the drums that we play, and other things. Someone with great intellect actually was a researcher. Came here as a resident to get her life back in tune again, and she learned how to make Native American flutes. And that was really a part of her recovery experience, being able to make this thing of beauty and then to play it, something that she had never done before.
So what we're going to make are roosting poles for the chicken tractor, where the chickens actually sleep at night.
And then if you can see, just next to the art barn, there's a white silo. It's not a place where we put corn. If you go in there and play music, it's a great place. The acoustics are just amazing. Next to the art barn, you'll see the tennis courts.
There's also basketball there, and it's lit. What's really cool at night is, sometimes you'll look down there, it's dark, and you got the lights up, and there are people playing basketball and tennis. It's really good space.
One of the things which most impressed me on my final night was there was a bonfire there. There was a group of about 20 people who were making music, and if one had just come on them from a distance, it wouldn't have occurred to one that these were mentally ill people. They were just sort of happy people making music. But something like this was, was so unimaginable in a hospital setting. You really need a place like CooperRiis to do it.
Sometimes someone gets on edge. The anxiety gets to be too much, and if you're confined, let's say in a more urban space, or you are, let's say, in a hospital, it's really difficult to find some space where you can breathe and where you can just let the anxiety boil off. Sometimes if someone's having a tough time, I'll say, let's just go take a walk. And we've got plenty of opportunities to walk, like around the lake or down to the gardens and back. And during that time, the magic of the place, I think, is really what helps people sort of release the anxiety. You can see the property around CooperRiis is also open. So even though we have only 80 acres, it feels like it's several hundred acres because we don't have anything intruding on the property. There's a wonderful stone labyrinth that we created. It's really a nice place to go take a sort of meditative walk.
I'd walk the labyrinth, and at least a couple times a week I'd go down there and do that, and I would just rewind everything that was going on in my head. My whole past, I'd rewind it when I was going into the center of the labyrinth, and then when I would go back out, I'd think about how I can fix it. And it would take about an hour to do the whole thing, or an hour and a half to do the whole thing, because I would go so slow, because there's so much going on. I would try to figure out what was going on, why I got myself in this trouble, and how I can fix it.
These are hoop houses, we call them. You can get, in some of the cooler times of the year, plants started there. And actually, sometimes during the year, we raise plants to completion there. Actually, our largest inside planting area are the greenhouses over here. The one on the left is where we raise vegetables. You can go in there and graze and have a great time. And then the one on the right is where there are most often flowers. To the left of the two greenhouses is our potting shed. So that's where the little seeds go into the little containers and the plants get started. I went in there the other day. There was someone who was new and was just so excited about, what was it? I think it was carrots that they were planting or getting started in there. And they ended up putting a lot of seeds into each little thing. So it was like there were these hundreds of carrots, little tiny carrots. Now, most places might just say, okay, let's toss it out, start over. I walked in there and people were very carefully taking each little carrot seedling, taking it apart, replanting it, and I thought, my goodness, that was wonderful care. We should care so great for one another. It was a good symbol. The therapeutic community is an essential aspect to the recovery process. We go beyond that, I would say, by adding a much more sort of comprehensive approach with a strong program of therapy offered by our therapists, individual and group psychotherapy, adding a strong nutritional component so that the nutritionist who works with the psychiatrist can help residents not only have their regular medication, so to speak, but also sometimes nutritional supplements. And also making sure that we're all eating as well as we can. Mary Kreider, our nutritionist, says you are what you eat, and so if you eat well, then hopefully you're going to feel better. She does nutritional counseling, which I think is pretty exceptional and may make us also a bit unique.
Half of the plate, if you envision your plate, half of it needs to be produce, cooked or raw, whatever. Take the other half of the plate and divide it in half, and you've got protein and a complex carbohydrate. So that's what it looks like, and that's how we plan it. Then we put the expertise of the chefs in to try to raise the level of fineness of the preparation. Because these are restaurant-trained chefs. I've been lucky to get interns from Johnson & Wales, and oftentimes they decide to stay on. So we have really good cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, it's pretty good.
We've added complementary modalities to the model as well, having massage therapy available to residents is one way to help them with their anxieties. And we have access to acupuncture, which can help people with sometimes anxiety as well as smoking cessation.
Well, maybe in 5 years I can have a cigarette. If I just go 5 years without one, then I can have one. Which, of course, that makes me mad that I can't ever have one, because then I'll just be right back in my addiction.
So it's a sort of a more comprehensive wrap with an attempt to bring into that circle all of the sort of best programming that we can have access to really make the recovery experience both deep and effective, as well as long-term. And then we have, of course, the follow-on programs beyond here, where people can leave the main campus stronger than when they arrived and ready to go back into often a more urban experience where, you know, life is not quite as idyllic as this and it can be more challenging, but they're ready to meet that by the time they go there. And step by step they can go through our program and most often really move to much higher levels of independence with not only higher functioning, but we focus as well on fulfillment. So it's not just about getting up and going to work, it's about getting up, being happy about the day that you're greeting, feeling fulfilled by the meaningful activity that you have, and finding out what your dream is and following it.
When the time comes and the resident feels that he or she is ready for the next level, they have the option of moving back home or into one of our community houses. We currently have 2 in Asheville and 2 in the Mill Spring Tryon area. They are staffed 24/7, but then the ratio is 1 staff member to 4 residents. Life at this point becomes a little different because meals don't automatically appear and clean laundry does not just show up on Thursdays. You have to do it yourself. You have to go grocery shopping. You have to prepare meals. You have to clean up after yourself. It's a community. It's a real community effort. You also required at that level to work or volunteer or go to school for a minimum of 20 hours a week. After you feel or a resident feels he or she is now ready to move on, they may move into one of our homes, community homes that's not staffed. Typically 3 to 4 residents will live in a home. We have 1 in Asheville right now. We have another couple in the Mill Spring Tryon area. They still get all of their services and see the same recovery coordinator and psychiatrist and psychologist and so on from CooperRiis, but live on their own, and this is sort of becomes the test of time whether someone is ready to be at that level, and that can be up to 3 years. When you feel you're really ready to spread your wings, you go into your own apartment or house and still get the services from us, see our psychologist, psychiatrist, and what's needed, but you're basically living on your own. And what happens often is that some of the residents who have gone through the program end up moving into a house or an apartment together. We all have bumps in the road, but I always say as long as the bumps are like this, it's when they go into the jagged edge. It's time to seek some help. And for that purpose, we have 6 respite rooms where a resident may come and spend a day, a week, a month, whatever it takes to get him or her back on their feet again.
Typical day. You're going to arise probably around 7 o'clock. And this is North Carolina in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. You're going to walk out of your private bedroom, bathroom, where you've got your sanctuary out, and you're going to open the door on your way to breakfast and see this blue sky and feel this breeze, and you're going to walk from your lodge over to the dining area where other residents and staff are gathering for breakfast around 7:30 to 8. And after that, people are gathering. You see people gathering to go on a walk or to do Tai Chi or Qigong or go down to the exercise room to work out because, gee, everyone around 8:30 goes to exercise together. Almost everyone. 9 o'clock, you gather for the morning meeting. So staff and residents are all jamming into the living room together, and
They're hearing everything from, oh, here's a new person who's coming today, or so-and-so's leaving, they're graduating to the community program. Oh, for dinner tonight is da-da-da-da-da-da.
Tonight, we're having broth in a salad bar, Cajun catfish, herb butter, creamy grits, and sauteed greens. Oh, yeah.
The activities tonight are, reading group or working, doing a drum circle, sort of get a sense of what's going on, and that's about a half hour. Then you break up as a group and go to the life skills program. In life skills, you might go to the wood shop, gardens, kitchen, art barn, housekeeping, real things that need to be done for the functioning of the small community, going as a group, and no matter how, quote, broken or unable you are, there is always something that you can do that your ability can connect with. So you join in with the group, contribute what you can. That goes from about 9:30 until 12, and then again from 1 till 4. So that defines a lot of the structure of the day. These very group, sort of positive work type activities. Lunch from 12 to 1. Now during the day you would also have various appointments peppered sort of. You might have an appointment with your therapist for individual psychotherapy. You might have a group therapy session. You might have an appointment with the psychiatrist or the nutritionist. But, it's like, oh, I've got my 10 o'clock appointment. I'll go up and see the psychiatrist and come back. So you stay in the structure of the day. After the life skills program is over at 4, often there's group sports for those who wish. There's a volleyball game going on, or there's basketball, or go down to the lake and take a swim. Evening dinner at 6 o'clock, you're gathering sort of family style, and then hearing again what the activities are for the evening. And these are optional, not everyone has to do a specific activity. And some of the activities in the evenings may also be spontaneous. You may take a walk with a friend, go down and shoot some hoops, or get with the reading or the writing group, or go down to the art barn and do a project. So it's a very full, structured, and affirming lifestyle.
Gosh, there's so many. There's so many.
My family noticed we were home for Thanksgiving, and her grandmother had said, Arden didn't seem quite herself, and she was more quiet than normal. And it was in the middle of the night, and she woke me up and she said, Mom, I did something really stupid. I just took a bunch of pills, and I'm scared, I don't know what to do. So her dad took her to the hospital. And then we did the rehab and all of that. Then she was pretty distant and rebellious and defiant, and
I felt like that the whole way through. Just when I was lying to them and keeping secrets and telling them I was going to a movie with a friend or I'm going to school, I was like, I must be killing them, because they think I'm doing so well, and they think I'm just this different person. And it was the lying, and that I was trying to protect them in a way, which I wasn't. So it came more of a shock to them, like, oh my gosh, my baby needs help, and they were so willing to do that. And
I know we had a huge blowout here in this room when we were talking to her about rules and things, what we expected from her, and she wanted to get in her car and drive, and we wouldn't let her. So she took off walking barefoot and went to the drugstore, and then went to the coffee shop and took a bunch of Tylenol, called her therapist, and the therapist called us, and Andrew went up and found her.
And then, we wound up in the hospital again. More seriously the second time, and at that point, scared to death, and realized, well, we're not doing what we did last time. We did this once, so let's do it differently. And One doctor, the one that we probably trust the most, said, it doesn't make any sense for her to be at home. If we can find something for her to do where she's somewhat challenged but still safe. And that, I think, that's really what made sense about CooperRiis to me.
Well, I think we all came to that conclusion. It was like,
You were,
all right.
of course, and the doctors told us, if you didn't go there, we didn't know where else you were going to go. Aunt Martha offered for you to go stay with her, but I didn't think that was going to work.
I mean, there just weren't any other options than that. It was either do this or...
So driving into CooperRiis, I was, thinking, I gotta hope this works because I don't want to lose her. I've lost my brother to suicide, and yeah, that was a really hard day. So it was different for both of us. I mean, it was hard, but it was also a relief at the same time, hoping that someone else could take over and help, because what I was doing wasn't helping or working.
I was asked to share with you some of my story. Like yours, I had ups and downs. For the last few years, I was in and out of hospitals and constantly in therapy. I was in a very dark place about this time last year. After a month's stay and yet another hospital stay, my family chose for me to come to CooperRiis. I wasn't happy at all about this decision. I felt completely out of control. But to be honest, I really wasn't in control of my life. My post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression ruled my life. My illness made the simplest things impossible. The moment I walked onto campus, I knew I was going to get better. It was my turn to make a choice. CooperRiis gave me that chance to get my life back. It wasn't overnight I became ill, and it wouldn't be overnight I'd become a functioning person. My advice for you is to take your time. Work with the people around you, staff and residents alike. Sorry, staff, but the most helpful and powerful conversations I had while I was here was on the smoking deck of Poplar. With the residents usually late at night, know that the residents are struggling too, or have struggled too, and they can be the best sounding board because they too know what it is like to be in your shoes. I know I sound like I'm getting some kind of award. Trust me, I know from experience the people around you right now are willing to do most anything. They're on your team. It's very true. There was a point at CooperRiis where I was having really bad flashbacks, and I was like, oh my God, he's coming to get me, and just completely irrational thoughts and things. And the staff there slept outside my room, slept on the couch. They locked some doors for me. They made me feel completely safe. And if you feel like I did when I was here at CooperRiis, I was a part of another family. Trust that there is not a bad intention and that they are here for your support. They are here for you. I know you're on a farm and there is no way on earth you're going to learn anything here, and nothing that you can take back with you. You're wrong. I was able to learn how to get up even on a bad day and go to work, and that's something I do every now and then. I know that self-medicating with drugs really can and will make whatever's going on in your life much worse. And in the long run, they can make you crazy. I know how to balance my meals and how to treat myself too. I was really very good at spending money, but while I was here with some trial and error, I am now able to balance my money and even save it. During most of my stay here, I was elected lodge representative. That was so rewarding. I learned how to be a leader and stand up for what Poplar and all the residents at CooperRiis needed. I know how to listen and process and make the best choice now. And the little things you learn here will amaze and change your And the little things here you learn will amaze and change your life for the better. So good luck and be strong. And know if you're feeling weak, tomorrow's a new day and a new chance. Thank you.
We have two main campuses for our community-based recovery programming. The farm-based program is in Mill Spring, North Carolina, and it has a farm setting. It's on 80 acres, and it has fields, and we grow a lot of our own food and tend the animals and so on. Our second campus, which we call CooperRiis Asheville, is in Asheville proper. It's right next to UNCA, University of North Carolina, Asheville. And it's an urban setting. We have capacity for 24 residents in our CooperRiis Asheville setting, and we have 36 resident capacity in our farm setting in Mill Spring. They both have the same programming, they have the same licensing, the same staff ratios, so they're totally the same.
The reason for opening an urban facility was that we had such a wait list for a long time and we could not keep up with the demand. So we decided also to go with an urban program because a lot of the calls would come in, especially from young professionals, saying, I don't want to be on a farm, what's nearby? Well, there are some sheep and some goats, but not a whole lot. But so they said, well, would I be able to stay at your facility and attend college? And well, it's difficult because there's no colleges nearby, and typically we do not allow residents to have their own cars during the first phase with us. So now we find that young professionals or older professionals who want to attend college but can't really stay on their own, need that extra support. It's a win-win situation because it's the university is the entrance literally across the street from where we are.
Yeah, it has the same life skills of housekeeping and working in the kitchen is the same. A lot of the food that's consumed in our CooperRiis Asheville actually is grown in the Mill Spring facility. The day programming, however, instead of being farm-based and animal-based as it is in the farm, and CooperRiis Asheville is based in the community. And so every day groups are put together to go out and join with other nonprofits in the community doing community-based volunteer work. This is also supported by students in the local colleges who join in with the work crews during the day to go and work with the residents and either in the Amana Food Bank or Goodwill or doing things that support the Asheville greater community.
One of the interesting things about how CooperRiis Asheville is the building used to be part of Highland Hospital. And Highland Hospital was a psychiatric hospital, and it was actually founded around the turn of the century, and it was farm-based. So it's kind of come full circle, so it was sort of, I think it was meant to be that we are now there.
Why go to CooperRiis? I think most of the people at CooperRiis have had acute breakdowns and have been in mental hospitals. But there is a great need for an in-between place where there is still, if you want, psychiatric supervision and monitoring, and if need be medication, but also a model community where one can start to reach out, form relationships with people, do things, learn social skills. This was exactly what my brother and hundreds of thousands of people were never given. They would fluctuate from the restricted atmosphere of hospitals to the blast of real life and city life. So a place like CooperRiis gives space and time and safety. Safety is very important when people have been mentally disturbed. They are very vulnerable.
Because you want to, I would think, for sure.
You come here because you want to. And once you're here, you should stay
because you can change for the better. You can learn to cope.
I don't quite know how to say this. One may need a place where one can be eccentric or a little mad sometimes, safely.
Oh, you should come to CooperRiis because it's better than any other facility that you'll ever go to, first of all. I mean, I've been in facilities. I mean, if you're suffering and you need to take a break from the world, you know, just the world. I mean, if you're suffering, you're going to work and you're having a hard time, and work is making you have a low self-esteem, and work is making you depressed, and you just need a break. I mean, CooperRiis is the best place of all places to go to.
There are very few places like it, possibly a dozen in the country. This is a very rare, precious sort of environment, which comes between the acute hospitalization and real life. And you can spend a year, or if need be more, at CooperRiis, sort of learning again to be a complete, skilled human being who can form relationships and who can do all sorts of things.
I think if the person really wants to get better, there's no better place in the country to go. You know, like I just said to you, I owe my life to those people there. I have a great life now. I've had 5 years of not thinking about killing myself, and I've had 5 years of peacefulness, and I can read now, and I don't get mad, and I owe that all to those people, you know.
There is a great danger if you just come out of hospital, you take medication, you stop it, you will relapse. They have this open door. I saw this with my brother. I've seen it with countless patients. With CooperRiis, and they have very good follow-up studies at the moment, even though it's only been going there 5 years. But with a place like CooperRiis, there is a good chance that one will never become psychotic again, or if one does, that it's not so psychotic that you will, you know, have to be hospitalized. You learn about yourself. You learn the danger signs. You also learn to reach out to other people. If one is going to have a mentally ill relative, or to be mentally ill oneself, I think it's a very good sort of place to go to.